I've been stationed on the edge of Earth's space for nearly 5 years, and I can tell you, there are days when the silence feels heavier than the hull of my ship. Staring out at the stars, you'd think space is alive, vibrant, full of movement. But most days, it's dead. Just an endless void of darkness dotted with pinpricks of light. But not today. The proximity alarm screamed, shaking me from a half-asleep stupor. I leapt to my feet, eyes darting to the console as my hands flew over the controls. Every screen lit up in an angry, chaotic mess. Hyperspace breaches, dozens of them, all too close. Too close. I watched as signatures flickered to life, one after another, forming a formation I hadn't seen in centuries of Earth's recorded history. It was a sight that had become almost myth, a ghost story we told ourselves about Earth's legendary armada that vanished into the dark 1,000 years ago. Every cadet knew the story. Earth's greatest fleet, lost without a trace, swallowed by the cosmos. And yet, here they were, dreadnoughts and cruisers, their hulls lined with ancient Earth insignias, materializing one after the other. It wasn't possible. It was like watching phantoms claw their way back into existence. I patched into the command channel, voice barely steady. "Control, this is Commander Jackson Hale. We've got incoming vessels. Identification reads as..." I paused, staring in disbelief at the readouts. The tag numbers matched exactly, down to the last digit. As Earth's lost fleet, Armada 7. The line went silent. Not a single response. "Control, confirm receipt." Nothing. A chill crept down my spine as my hands moved, magnifying the feed from the external cams. The ships were ancient but unmistakably human, covered in burn marks, patched-up hulls, and debris frozen like scars across their frames. If these were ghosts, they were ones that had seen war. Real war. As I tried to hail them, static filled the channel, then a low hum, like a whisper from the past. And through it came a voice, distorted and cold, "We return with the truth." My breath caught. I stared at the console, the words repeating, over and over, like a chant from the void. "We return with the truth." "Control, do you read? Armada 7 is transmitting a message." Still nothing. I ran a full scan, checking the systems, verifying the data. Every single ship out there was an exact match with records we'd considered legends. Each signature, perfectly aligned. But the readings didn't make sense. The power levels indicated they'd been active recently, too recently. Ships that vanished a millennium ago should be little more than relics, floating husks. But these were still running, still powered up like they'd just jumped out of hyperspace yesterday. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up as I stared at the command ship. The flagship. Its name was etched into my memory from Academy stories. It's Resolute. It was the pride of Earth's fleet, commanded by Admiral Lucia Graves, the woman who led them into the dark and never came back. I leaned forward, squinting at the feed. Something wasn't right about its hull. Besides the ancient scorch marks, there was fresh damage, patches of charred metal and debris floating around it. The kind of damage you'd see after a fight, a recent fight. A warning pinged on my HUD, encrypted data package incoming. The signal was ancient, but my system recognized it. It was Earth code, something the Armada would have used 1,000 years ago. The ship's AI hesitated, but I overrode it, forcing the decryption. The message flashed on screen, and I felt my chest tighten. "This is Admiral Lucia Graves. To any survivors of Earth, Armada 7 returns with the truth of the stars. The echo is coming." The feed cut to black. My heart pounded, and for a moment, all I could hear was the sound of my own breath. Echo. Survivors? The message played again in my head, each word hitting like a hammer. I hadn't heard of any echo. Nothing in our records or military briefings mentioned it. But the fear in the Admiral's voice, it was real. I gripped the console, forcing myself to focus. "Jackson, keep it together," I muttered under my breath. "Figure this out." The ships hung there, waiting, like some ancient warning come back to haunt us. Before I could react, new alarms blared. Proximity warning, again. This time, it wasn't Armada 7. It was the Galactic Council's fleet, moving in fast. I watched as their vessels formed a perimeter, positioning themselves between us and the Armada. "Commander Hale," came the sharp voice over comms. It was Counselor Vex, his tone colder than the void outside. "Cease all transmissions and stand down. This matter is under Council jurisdiction." I gritted my teeth. "Counselor, these ships, they're Earth's Armada. The lost fleet. They've returned." "That fleet is irrelevant to you," Vex snapped. "You are to disengage immediately. This is your final warning." Irrelevant. 1,000 years of human history floating out there, proof of something more, something the Council clearly knew about, and they wanted me to turn away. Not a chance. I killed the transmission. If there was something they didn't want us to know, I'd find out. I stared back at the Armada. The ancient, silent ships seemed to whisper to me, daring me to find out what happened to them, why they returned, and what the truth they carried would reveal. The stars burned brighter as I set a course for the flagship. I engaged the thrusters, pushing my ship closer to the Armada. The Council ships formed a wall, their weapons locked on me like a noose tightening around my neck. But if they thought I'd back down, they were dead wrong. I had to know what these ghosts from the past were hiding, and I'd bet everything the Council knew more than they were letting on. As I approached the HFY Resolute, the flagship of the Armada, its massive frame loomed like a mountain in the void. I could almost feel the history dripping off it, a ship that had carried Earth's brightest and most skilled soldiers into the unknown, only to vanish without a trace. Until now. I hailed the ship again, holding my breath. "Armada 7, this is Commander Jackson Hale of the Earth Defense Network. Do you read me?" For a moment, there was only static. Then, the channel opened. A voice crackled through, distorted but unmistakably human. "This is Admiral Graves. Identification verified. Stand by for docking procedures." I blinked. Admiral Graves, alive. It wasn't possible. She should be nothing but dust. But before I could react, my ship's systems automatically linked with the Resolute, pulling me in toward its docking bay. "Commander Hale," came the Council's voice again. Vex, sounding more irritated now. "Disengage immediately. We will open fire if necessary." The docking clamps engaged with a metallic hiss. I was already past the point of no return. "I'm not turning back. Counselor, you want me off this ship. You'll have to come take me." There was a pause. Then, Vex's voice turned cold. "So be it." I felt the ship shudder as I descended the ramp into the docking bay of the Resolute. The air was cold, stale, as if it hadn't been circulated in years. Emergency lighting flickered overhead, casting long shadows across the deck. The place felt like a tomb, frozen in time. I gripped my sidearm, moving slowly through the silent corridors. Everything felt familiar, yet wrong. Old Earth tech, manual control panels, screens that flickered with static, but covered in signs of recent repair. Fresh weld marks on the bulkheads, power conduits rigged together with a mix of ancient and newer materials. Whoever had been working on this ship, they'd been doing it for a long time. I reached what looked like the command center and stopped. The doors creaked open, revealing a massive, dimly lit room. And there, standing in front of the main console, was a figure in an admiral's uniform, back turned to me. "Admiral Graves?" My voice sounded small in the silence. The figure turned. It was her, older than I expected, but the same face I'd seen in countless history vids. Her eyes locked onto mine, filled with a mix of relief and something else, something darker. "Commander Hale," she said, her voice rough, like she hadn't used it in years. "We've been waiting for this moment." I felt a shiver run down my spine. How are you alive? The Armada was lost 1,000 years ago." She gave me a sad smile, one that spoke of things she wasn't ready to share. "Time works differently in the dark corners of the galaxy. We weren't lost, we were delayed." Her answer didn't make any sense, but I pressed on. "The echo, you mentioned it in your message. What is it?" Her face tightened. "The Council knows. They've always known." She turned, Activating a display on the console, a holographic star map flickered to life, showing Earth's position and the vast swaths of space beyond. But as she zoomed out, I saw something that made my stomach drop, an expanding wave, like a ripple in a pond, originating from a point far beyond any known star system. "The echo is a signal," she said. "It's not natural. It's a warning, Commander, a warning the Council has been hiding for centuries. They sent us to investigate it all those years ago, knowing what it could mean for Earth." I stared at the map. "A signal? From where?" "From beyond our galaxy." Her eyes met mine, filled with a gravity that sent a chill down my spine. "It's a call. Something out there knows about us, and it's coming." My mind raced. The Council had always maintained that Earth was alone in the universe, isolated, with nothing more than distant alien species that posed no real threat. But if what Graves was saying was true, they'd been lying to us for centuries, covering up a truth that could rewrite everything we knew. "Why didn't the Council warn Earth?" I demanded. Graves sighed, like someone carrying a burden too heavy for any one person. "Because they don't want anyone to know. They've been preparing for this for 1,000 years, keeping the truth locked away to maintain control. They knew if humanity discovered what was really out there, it would tear the Council apart." The console beeped, and the star map shifted. The wave, the echo, was expanding faster than I could comprehend. It was headed straight for Earth. "That's why we returned," Graves continued. "We couldn't send a message through hyperspace. The Council blocked our comms. They didn't want us coming back at all." A sense of urgency settled in my gut. "And now that you're here?" She squared her shoulders, that admiral's steel returning to her eyes. "We bring the truth, but we need to act fast. The Council will do everything they can to silence us. They know what's at stake, and they'll destroy the Armada if they have to." As if on cue, the ship's hull rumbled. Alarms blared, impact warnings. The Council ships had opened fire. Graves snapped into action, her voice commanding. "Commander, we need to jump now. The Council won't let us escape without a fight." I nodded, adrenaline pumping. "Where to?" She pulled up coordinates on the display, an uncharted system, deep in the galactic rim. "The echo's source. If we can reach it, we can find out what is behind it." As we sprinted toward the bridge, the realization hit me. This wasn't just about Earth's lost fleet returning. It was about uncovering a truth buried so deep. The galaxy itself might shatter when it came to light. The Council's silence, their lies, they weren't protecting Earth. They were protecting themselves. I strapped into the co-pilot's seat as Graves barked orders, her crew springing to life like soldiers who had been waiting centuries for this moment. The Armada's engines roared to life, the ships pulling together as one. "We'll rewrite history," she said, gripping the controls. "One way or another." The stars bent and twisted, and with a shuddering lurch, the Armada leapt into hyperspace. Hyperspace was a blur of light and shadow, the stars streaking past in ribbons of silver and blue. I watched as the Armada ships moved in tight formation around us, their presence a grim reminder of the Council's betrayal. My hands gripped the armrests as the ship shuddered under the strain of the jump. Graves' voice echoed over the comms. "All ships, status report." A chorus of voices responded, confirming their positions, but the tension was palpable. We were alone, cut off from the rest of the galaxy. The Council ships were still trailing us, and their weapons wouldn't stay silent for long. I turned to Graves, who was studying the navigational readouts. "Do you really think we can outrun them?" She didn't look up. "It's not about outrunning them, Hale. It's about getting far enough ahead to reach the coordinates before they catch us." "What happens if they do?" I asked, already knowing the answer but needing to hear it. Graves glanced at me, her eyes hard. "They'll destroy us and erase every trace of this mission. The Council cannot afford to let the truth get out." Her words hung heavy in the air. I had joined the Earth Defense Network to protect humanity, but the truth was starting to blur the lines between protector and traitor. If the Council was willing to silence the Armada, Earth's own fleet. What else had they done? Before I could ask, an alarm blared, and the console flashed red. We'd been pulled out of hyperspace, the view outside snapping back into real space. My heart sank as the sight of council ships filled the viewport. They'd caught up. "Brace for impact," Graves shouted, and I grabbed the console as the first volley hit. The ship rocked violently, the lights flickering, shields strained against the barrage, and explosions echoed through the hull. Graves issued rapid-fire commands, the bridge crew moving like a well-oiled machine. Engage evasive maneuvers, divert power to forward shields. I watched the tactical display as council ships closed in. They outnumbered us 2-1, and their formations boxed us in. We were trapped. Graves' eyes locked onto mine, and there was a moment of silent understanding. She wasn't afraid, but she was ready. Ready to do whatever it took to get us through. "We need to punch through," I said, gripping the console. "If we can create a gap, we might have a shot at jumping again." Graves nodded. "Prepare the main cannon. We're going to blast a hole through their lines." The order was relayed, and the ship's hull vibrated as the massive weapon powered up. I watched the charge levels rise, feeling the tension coiled tight inside me. This wasn't a standard fight. This was survival. If we failed, the council would wipe us out and bury the truth. The cannon fired, and a brilliant beam of energy sliced through the council blockade. One of their ships exploded, debris scattering like dust. The gap opened, and Graves seized the moment. All ships, full thrust, pushed through. The armada surged forward, engines roaring as we punched through the opening. Council ships fired back, but our formation held, shields absorbing the worst of the blast. We moved like a spear, the armada's firepower forcing the council ships to break formation. "We're almost there," Graves called out. "Prepare for hyperspace jump in 10 seconds. As we counted down, a flash of light erupted from one of the council ships, a missile streaking straight toward us. I tensed, watching its trajectory. There was no time to evade. "Deploy countermeasures," I shouted. Graves' crew reacted instantly, launching flares and electronic decoys. The missile veered off course, but it wasn't enough. The blast struck one of our ships, and the explosion lit up the void. The shockwave slammed into us, throwing me forward in my seat. "Brace," Graves barked as the hull screamed under the strain. We stabilized just as the jump drive powered up, the stars bending once more as the armada leapt back into hyperspace. I took a deep breath, my pulse racing. "That was close," I muttered. Graves nodded, her expression grim. "Too close. The council's getting desperate. They know what's at stake." I leaned back, trying to make sense of it all. Why would they go this far? What are they so afraid of? She hesitated, and I saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes, something I hadn't expected from a leader like her. "They fear losing control." Hell, the truth we're carrying, it could undo centuries of their influence. "And what exactly is this truth?" I pressed. "The echo, what does it mean?" Graves paused, her gaze distant. "The echo isn't just a signal. It's a pattern, a message hidden in the fabric of space itself. We traced it for centuries, and every time we got close, the council intervened." I frowned. "Why not just tell Earth? Why hide it?" Her face tightened. "Because the council controls Earth, Commander. They've manipulated history, erased records, and silenced anyone who gets too close. This is bigger than us, bigger than Earth." I stared at her, the weight of her words sinking in. If what she was saying was true, then everything I'd believed, everything I'd fought for, was a lie. "So, what's the plan now?" She pulled up the coordinates. "We head to the echo's source. If we can uncover its origin, we'll have proof, evidence that can shatter the council's grip once and for all." I nodded, feeling the resolve settle in my gut. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about exposing the truth, no matter the cost. As we sailed through hyperspace, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were diving into the unknown. The echo, the council's lies, the armada's return, it was all connected, and somehow I was caught right in the middle of it. Graves broke the silence. "We'll be at the coordinates in a few hours. Get some rest while you can. It's going to get worse before it gets better." I nodded, but rest was the last thing on my mind. I knew one thing for sure. When we reached the source of the echo, we wouldn't just be facing the truth. We'd be facing the consequences of 1,000 years of secrets, and whatever darkness had been waiting in the shadows all this time. I stared at the star map, the swirling blue of hyperspace rippling outside the viewport. The coordinates we were heading toward felt like a black hole, a point of no return. Graves had gone silent, deep in thought as she reviewed our mission logs. I watched her, waiting for a hint of what lay ahead, but she kept her cards close. Every second brought us closer to the echo's source, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were about to cross a line that couldn't be uncrossed. I forced myself to focus. I needed answers. Graves couldn't hide everything forever. "Graves," I said, breaking the silence. "If the Council's erased every trace of this fleet and the Echo's origins, why did they let you come back? Why now?" She looked up, her eyes sharp and calculating. "That's the right question, Commander. And the truth is, I don't know. We weren't supposed to return." I blinked. "What do you mean?" "Our mission ended over 1,000 years ago. We were charting the fringes of the galaxy when the Echo's pattern changed. We tracked it here, into this sector, and then something happened." A chill ran down my spine. "What happened?" Graves' expression darkened. "The Echo wasn't just a signal. It became a presence. Something more than interference. We blacked out, lost weeks of time. When we came to, we were back in Council-controlled space with no memory of how we got there, and then silence." Her voice was steady, but I could see the edge of fear beneath it. 1,000-year-old fleet, lost and returned, with gaps in their memory and a signal that shifted from mere data to something sentient. This was more than just a Council cover-up. "But why let you go now?" I pressed. "If they wanted to erase you, they could have done it 1,000 years ago." Graves shook her head. "I suspect they tried. We've all been altered, memories, records, everything. But for some reason, the Echo itself pulled us back. The Council couldn't stop it, and now they're desperate to erase the truth before we reach it." I leaned back, absorbing her words. If Graves was right, the Council wasn't just hiding a signal. They were hiding something alive, something powerful enough to manipulate a fleet's location and even time. What does it want? That's what we're going to find out. Graves' gaze locked onto mine. If we reach the Echo's source, we'll have our answer. I nodded, my mind racing. But before I could ask anything more, the lights flickered, and the ship shuddered. An alert flashed across the console. "Graves, we're dropping out of hyperspace," I shouted, gripping the console as the ship bucked. She snapped to action. "All hands, prepare for emergency exit." The Armada's ships lurched as they reverted to real space, the blur of hyperspace collapsing into a dense field of stars. Ahead, the void was darker than it should have been, a swirling mass of shadows, barely visible against the black of space. "What is that?" I whispered. Graves' hands flew over the controls, scanning the anomaly. "I don't know. It's not on any chart." The darkness expanded, shifting like a living thing. The Echo's signal intensified, pulsing through the ship's systems. The display screens glowed with interference, forming strange, looping patterns. A low hum filled the air, vibrating through my bones. "It's the Echo." Graves' voice was tight. "It's drawing us in." The ships around us held formation, but I could see the strain on their hulls as they pushed against the pull of the anomaly. "Can we break free?" I asked. Graves' hands tightened on the controls. "We're too close. Whatever it is, it's warping gravity. We have no choice but to go in." My gut twisted, every instinct screaming to turn back. But the ship was beyond my control now. We inched closer, and the shadows outside began to shift and twist like tendrils reaching out. The void ahead was a maelstrom of dark matter and energy, spiraling inward. "Full shields," Graves ordered. "We're going through." The fleet dove into the darkness, and everything went silent. The hum of the engines faded, the lights dimmed, and a deep chill crept through the ship. The swirling mass enveloped us, and the viewport filled with shifting darkness, shapes moving at the edges of my vision. I gripped the armrests, my heart pounding. "Graves, what's happening?" "We're passing through an energy field," she replied. "It's interfering with our systems." The lights flickered again, and the screens blinked out, leaving only static. For a moment, it felt like we were floating in an abyss, cut off from the galaxy, and then the whispers began. They were faint at first, like echoes of voices carried on the wind. I strained to listen, trying to make out words, but they slipped away, just out of reach. Graves stiffened beside me, her eyes scanning the darkness. "Do you hear that?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She nodded. "It's the echo. We're inside its source." The whispers grew louder, and the shadows outside coalesced, forming shapes, fragments of ships, faces, and structures long forgotten. Images flickered through the darkness, each one a ghost of the past. I saw glimpses of ancient battles, ships tearing each other apart in the void, and alien worlds burning under the light of distant suns. "It's showing us history," Graves said, her voice filled with awe. "Fragments of what's been lost." "But why?" I asked, feeling a sense of unease. "What does it want from us?" Graves' eyes narrowed as the whispers converged, forming a single voice, a voice that echoed through the bridge, filling every corner of the ship. "Remember." The word sent a shiver down my spine. It was a command, not a request. I felt something press against my mind, like a memory struggling to surface. Images flashed before my eyes, Earth's ancient cities, the first warp gates, and a fleet assembling for war. And then it was gone, leaving only silence. I blinked, my breath heavy, as I tried to process what I'd seen. "What was that?" Graves' expression was grim. "A message. The echo wants us to remember what the Council erased." I swallowed hard. If the echo had been reaching out for 1,000 years, trying to deliver a warning, then we were at the heart of something that could shatter the galaxy. The Council's lies were just the beginning. Graves turned to me, her eyes blazing. "The truth is out there, Hale, and we're going to find it." As we pushed deeper into the darkness, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were on the edge of a revelation that would change everything. The echo's message was clear. It wanted the past to be remembered, no matter the cost, and if we survived what lay ahead, we'd have the power to rewrite the future. But as the shadows closed in, I couldn't help but wonder, what if the echo's truth was more than we could handle? What if it was already too late? The shadows pressed in from all sides, thickening as we moved deeper into the anomaly. The fleet's formation held, but the tension was palpable. Every eye was on the swirling darkness beyond the viewports, each of us bracing for whatever lay ahead. The whispers hadn't stopped. They grew louder, more insistent, echoing through the ship's corridors like a distant storm. I could feel them clawing at my thoughts, tugging at memories that didn't belong to me. Flashes of alien faces, long-dead battlefields, and a fleet on the brink of destruction. "Graves, are we still on course?" I asked, gripping the edge of the console as the ship trembled beneath us. The echo's pull was increasing, dragging us deeper into its maw. "We are," she replied, her eyes fixed on the screen. "But the readings are changing. The anomaly's composition. It's not natural. It's shifting, adapting." I felt a cold knot form in my gut. Adapting to what? Us. Graves glanced at me, and I saw the flicker of fear in her eyes, an emotion I never thought I'd see in her. "It's reacting to our presence." The echo wasn't just a phenomenon. It was aware, and it was pulling us in for a reason. I stared at the swirling mass ahead, and for the first time, I wondered if we were in over our heads. Why would the Council erase this? What's so dangerous about the echo? Graves hesitated, her jaw tight. "The echo. It's not just an energy field. It's a scar, a remnant of something catastrophic. And if we're right, it's holding the memories of that event, everything the Council buried." I processed her words, the pieces clicking into place. The council didn't just want to erase history. They wanted to bury a disaster so profound, so devastating, that even the memory of it had to be erased. And now, whatever was left of that event had become sentient, luring us in with its whispers and shadows. What kind of disaster? I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. Before Graves could respond, the ship's alarms blared, and the lights flickered. The darkness outside shifted, and a shockwave rippled through the fleet. My console lit up with alerts as systems flickered in and out. "We're losing power," I shouted. "Shields are at 40% and dropping." Graves' hands moved swiftly across the controls. "Brace for impact. All ships, maintain formation." The fleet struggled against the pull as the darkness began to close in. The void outside wasn't empty, it was alive, shifting like an ocean of ink, and it was reacting to our every move. My heart pounded as the pressure built. We were caught in a storm of energy, and the fleet's engines screamed as they fought to keep us afloat. The echoes of ancient battles, the whispers of forgotten voices, they grew louder, almost deafening. And then, like the eye of a storm, everything stilled. The darkness parted, and a massive structure emerged before us, a monolithic station, its surface covered in scars and debris. It was ancient, its design alien yet eerily familiar. I felt a shiver run down my spine. "What is that?" I whispered, staring at the structure. It stretched on for miles, its spires twisted and broken, like the bones of some long-dead beast. Graves' expression was unreadable. "It's the source, the origin point of the echo." I leaned closer, my eyes scanning the station. "What happened here?" She exhaled, her voice heavy. "This is what the Council didn't want us to find. This station, it's the remnant of the last war humanity fought before the Council's rise. It's where Earth's fleet made its final stand 1,000 years ago." Her words hung in the air, and the weight of it sank in. The Council's story of Earth's rise to power was only part of the truth. They had erased the battle that defined humanity's place in the galaxy, a war that had torn apart fleets and shattered alliances. And the echo, this signal calling us in, was all that remained of that conflict. "But why call us back now?" I asked, my mind racing. "What's left for us to find?" Graves' gaze darkened. "The echo's memory is incomplete, fractured. It needs us to unlock the rest." I processed her words, the implications sinking in. This wasn't just about uncovering the past. The echo was alive, and it needed us for something. It was pulling us deeper into its web, forcing us to confront whatever the Council had tried to erase. "Prepare the fleet," Graves ordered. "We're going in." As we approached the station, the darkness shifted again, coiling around us like a living thing. The energy reading spiked, and the ship's sensors struggled to keep up. We were passing through layers of interference, each one a barrier guarding the heart of the anomaly. And then, as we drew closer, the whispers changed. They weren't just voices anymore. They were memories, our memories. Images of Earth flashed across my mind, cities, oceans, people. I saw moments from my childhood, places I hadn't thought about in years. The echo was searching, digging through our thoughts. "Graves, it's in our heads," I said, feeling a chill creep down my spine. "It's searching for something." She nodded, her expression tense. "Stay focused. The echo is testing us, trying to access our minds." I fought to keep my thoughts clear, but the whispers grew stronger, pulling at memories I'd long buried. And then, just as we reached the station's entrance, the echo's voice echoed in my mind, no longer fragmented, but a clear, resonant tone. "You must remember." The words echoed through the ship, and for a moment, everything around me blurred. The station, the fleet, the swirling darkness, they faded, replaced by a vision of Earth's lost fleet, standing defiant against a monstrous alien armada. The battle was chaos, ships tearing through space, firing weapons of impossible power. And then, a flash of light, a weapon detonating, tearing a rift in the fabric of space. The vision vanished as quickly as it came, and I was back on the bridge, my hands gripping the console. Graves was watching me, her eyes searching. "Did you see it?" I nodded, my heart pounding. I saw a battle. Earth's fleet against something massive. She exhaled, her expression grim. The echo is showing us fragments. It wants us to piece it together. I looked out at the station, the truth starting to take shape. The echo wasn't just a signal. It was a message from the past, a warning about a war that had almost destroyed everything. And if we couldn't decipher its meaning, history was doomed to repeat itself. "Commander, we're entering the station," Graves announced. The ship's engines flared as we maneuvered into a docking bay, the shadows parting to reveal the entrance. As we docked, the lights of the station flickered to life, casting long shadows across the hull. The silence was suffocating. I took a deep breath. "This is it." Graves nodded, her expression hardening. "We're about to uncover the truth the Council buried. Stay sharp." As the airlock opened, I felt a weight settle over me. We were stepping into the heart of humanity's past, and whatever lay inside had the power to change everything. The airlock hissed open, revealing a dimly lit chamber beyond. My breath caught in my throat as I stepped into the station. The atmosphere felt heavy, laden with memories and echoes of battles long past. The flickering lights illuminated shattered consoles and debris strewn across the floor, remnants of a forgotten war. "Stay close," Graves instructed, her voice steady despite the unease thrumming through the air. I followed her deeper into the chamber, the shadows whispering around us, as if the very walls were alive with secrets waiting to be unearthed. As we moved further in, I caught glimpses of faded insignias and half-buried memories etched into the station's surfaces, symbols of Earth's fleet before the Council's rise. They were reminders of a time when humanity fought fiercely for its place among the stars. "Look," I said, pointing to a broken display console that still flickered with faint images. It showed footage of a massive space battle, ships clashing, weapons firing, and the cacophony of conflict ringing through the silence. "This is it. This is our history." Graves stepped closer, studying the images. "It's not just our history, it's theirs too. The echo holds the memories of every being involved in that war." I shivered, feeling the weight of those words. The station was more than a remnant of a battle. It was a vessel of memories, a repository of lost histories. But what did the echo want from us? Why was it bringing us here? "Can we access the data?" I asked, glancing at the console's faded interface. "Let me see what I can do," Graves replied, her fingers flying across the controls. The console hummed to life, and lines of text began scrolling across the screen, revealing snippets of information. Names, dates, and coordinates flashed before our eyes. Suddenly, the lights dimmed even further, and the chamber shook as a low rumble resonated through the station. "What's happening?" I shouted over the noise, gripping the edge of a console for support. "It's unstable," Graves yelled back, her expression fierce as she continued to manipulate the controls. "We need to extract this data before we're trapped here." The screens flickered wildly, images flashing by, captured moments of Earth's last stand against an overwhelming alien force. I saw familiar faces, friend, family, fighting against impossible odds. The weight of their sacrifice hit me like a physical blow. "Commander, look," I pointed at the display. A particular sequence caught my eye. A ship, larger than any I'd seen before, gliding effortlessly through the chaos. It was the flagship of Earth's fleet, bristling with weapons and advanced technology, an embodiment of our collective will. "That's the Valor," Graves said, her voice tinged with reverence. "The pride of Earth's fleet. It led the charge against the alien armada." But then the vision changed, a shot of the Valor firing its weapons, only to be caught in a massive explosion, light tearing through space. "No!" I shouted, the image striking a nerve deep within me. "What happened to it?" Graves frowned, her fingers hesitating on the console. "The last transmission from the Valor was before the Council declared the fleet lost. They never disclosed what happened. They just erased it." The chamber shook again, the rumbling growing more intense, as if the very fabric of the station was protesting our intrusion. I felt a sudden surge of urgency. "We have to hurry. The echo is reacting to our presence." if we stay too long. Got it, Graves interrupted, her voice steady despite the chaos. The screens began displaying data streams, unlocking fragments of the Echo's memory. We've accessed the first layer of data, she said, her eyes wide with determination. It's fragmented, but we can piece it together. Suddenly, a sharp noise cut through the air, a piercing alarm that echoed throughout the chamber. The walls trembled as more debris fell from the ceiling. We need to get out of here, I shouted. Graves nodded, rapidly downloading the data. I'm almost finished. Just a little longer. I kept my eyes on the entrance, heart racing. The shadows loomed closer, whispering, beckoning. Something was coming, something dark. I could feel it in my bones. Now, Graves exclaimed, slamming her hand on the console as a final data stream downloaded. The screens flickered, and a holographic projection flared to life in the center of the chamber. It showed the Valor's last known location, coordinates flashing ominously. Let's go, I urged, grabbing Graves' arm. We darted toward the exit, the station shuddering violently as we sprinted back the way we came. As we ran, the alarms blared louder, the whispers rising to a fever pitch. The shadows writhed, almost alive, as if they were trying to drag us back into the depths of the station. My heart raced, a primal instinct urging me to escape. We reached the airlock, and Graves punched in the override code. The door hissed open just as a tremor rocked the station, sending debris crashing to the floor behind us. Get in, I shouted, pulling her through the doorway as the airlock sealed behind us. I felt a rush of relief, but it was short-lived. The echoes of the station still echoed in my mind, its secrets clawing at the edges of my consciousness. What did we just uncover? I asked, panting as the ship's systems came to life around us. The familiar hum of the engines calmed me, but I couldn't shake the feeling of dread settling in my chest. Graves turned to me, her eyes filled with a mix of triumph and fear. We unlocked the Echo's first layer, but it's just the beginning. We need to get back to the fleet and analyze this data. It holds the key to understanding what really happened. Are we safe? I questioned, glancing back at the sealed airlock. What if it follows us? Graves shook her head, her jaw tight. The Echo is tied to that station. We're safe for now, but we need to act quickly. The Council won't let us reveal this. I nodded, determination hardening within me. We were on the brink of uncovering a truth that could change everything. But the deeper we went, the more perilous our path became. As we prepared to leave the station behind, I couldn't shake the feeling that the Echo was still watching, waiting for us to unlock its final secrets, and I knew that whatever lay ahead would test not just our resolve, but the very fabric of our understanding of humanity's place in the galaxy. The hum of the ship's engines was a comforting backdrop as we navigated away from the forsaken station. My heart raced, the weight of our discovery heavy in my mind. Graves was already plugged into the console, her fingers dancing over the controls as she began sorting through the data we had extracted. Let's hope this leads us to something useful, she murmured, her focus unwavering. I leaned closer, trying to make sense of the swirling data streams on the screen. Lines of text, images, and coordinates scrolled by too quickly to comprehend, but I could feel the tension rising in the air. Anything? I asked, breaking the silence, my curiosity piqued. Not yet, she replied, her brow furrowed in concentration. The data is fragmented, but I'm beginning to see patterns. It looks like a series of logs and communications from the Valor leading up to its disappearance. Can we isolate the last moments of the Valor's mission? I asked, hopeful. Graves nodded, pulling up a visual feed. This is the last known comms log from the ship before it went dark. Let's see what it reveals. The screen flickered, and a holographic projection appeared, depicting the Valor and its crew preparing for what looked like a major engagement. My heart pounded in my chest as the familiar faces of the crew filled the display. I recognized some of them, men and women who had become legends in their own right. They were not just names in a history book, they were heroes. The log began to play, crackling with static before the voice of Admiral Lucia Graves, my commanding officer's namesake, filled the chamber. This is Admiral Graves of the Valor. We are approaching the designated coordinates for engagement with the Echo. All systems are operational, and we are ready for deployment. The ship rocked slightly as we replayed the log, the tension palpable in the air. I could almost feel the weight of the moment pressing down on me. "Stand by for orders," Lucia continued, her voice steady but tinged with an underlying strain. "We will not let Earth fall into darkness. Our mission is to secure the future of humanity." I looked over at Graves, whose expression mirrored my own. We were about to witness the last moments of a pivotal battle, a battle that had defined our place in the galaxy. Suddenly, the comms feed distorted, and a chorus of voices erupted through the static. "We're receiving anomalous readings," one of the crew shouted, panic creeping into their tone. "It's as if something is." The transmission cut off, leaving only a deafening silence in its wake. The projection flickered and went dark, plunging us back into the dim glow of our ship's console. "What happened?" I asked, my heart racing. "What did they encounter?" "I don't know," Graves replied, her jaw tight with frustration. "This is just a fragment. We need to dig deeper into the data. There must be more logs or records that can shed light on the situation." As she resumed her analysis, I felt a chill settle in the pit of my stomach. The Echo had been more than just an enemy. It had been a force that changed everything. What had they discovered in those last moments, and why had the Council erased this history? "Commander," I said, breaking the silence again, "do you think the Echo has anything to do with the Council's actions? If they hid the truth, what were they trying to protect?" Graves paused, looking at me with a mix of resolve and fear. "It's possible. The Echo isn't just an enemy, it's a threat to their control. If it can manipulate or erase memories, then everything we thought we knew about our history could be a lie." I felt the weight of her words settling heavily on my shoulders. The Council had kept so much hidden, and the more we uncovered, the more dangerous our path became. "Then we need to find the Valor. It holds the key to everything." Graves nodded. "The coordinates we extracted point to an area deep within the Echo's territory. We'll need to tread carefully. The Council will likely be watching our every move." "Let them watch," I said, determination igniting within me. "We're not going to let them keep us in the dark anymore." With renewed purpose, we plotted our course, steering the ship toward the coordinates displayed on the console. The journey ahead was fraught with danger, but we were no longer just seeking the past. We were fighting for the truth. As we traveled deeper into the Echo's domain, I felt a strange sensation creeping in, a sense of being watched. It was as if the very shadows of the void were alive, pulsing with a hidden energy, lurking just beyond the edges of our perception. "Do you feel that?" I asked, glancing around the cockpit. "What do you mean?" Graves asked, her focus still on the controls. "It's like something is out there, waiting for us," I said, unease creeping into my voice. Graves looked up, her eyes narrowing as she took in the surrounding darkness. "Stay vigilant. If the Echo is aware of our movements, we need to be prepared for anything." With every passing moment, the tension in the cockpit thickened. I couldn't shake the feeling that the Echo wasn't just a distant memory. It was a living entity, aware of our search for the truth. The shadows seemed to pulse with a life of their own, a reminder of the ghosts of those who had fought and fallen in the darkness. As we neared the coordinates, I couldn't help but wonder what awaited us on the other side. Would we find answers, or would we awaken a force that had been waiting in silence for far too long? The hum of the engines steadied me, but the question lingered. How far were we willing to go to uncover the truth? And what would we have to face to rewrite our place in history? The ship sliced through the void, each pulse of the engines propelling us closer to the coordinates buried in the fragmented logs. The air was thick with tension, every heartbeat echoing the urgency of our mission. Graves and I exchanged glances, her eyes brimming with determination, but I could see the flicker of doubt lurking beneath the surface. "Just a few more minutes," she murmured, her fingers expertly navigating the console as we approached the designated point. "I'm beginning to pick up something on long-range sensors. It's faint, but it's there." "What do you mean?" I leaned forward, scanning the readouts. A series of blips danced across the screen, barely discernible against the backdrop of space. "Are those ships?" "Could be," she replied, her voice steadying. "Or something else entirely. We need to get closer to confirm." The silence in the cockpit deepened as we hurtled through the dark. Each second stretched into an eternity, filled with the weight of unspoken fears. What lay ahead? Would we find the remnants of the Valor, or would we stumble into a trap set by the Echo? As the blips grew more pronounced, a chill crept down my spine. "Graves, what if the Echo is waiting for us? We have to be ready." "I'm aware," she said, her expression hardening. "I'll activate the defensive systems. Just stay sharp." With a quick series of commands, the ship hummed in response, the shields flickering to life. I felt a surge of adrenaline rush through me. We were ready for whatever lay ahead, at least, I hoped we were. As we drew closer, the readings became clearer, revealing a formation of vessels. My breath caught in my throat. What in the galaxy? A fleet of ships loomed ahead, their silhouettes dimly lit against the void. They were battered, their hulls scarred by battle and time, yet they bore the unmistakable insignia of the Earth fleet. The Valor was among them, a ghostly silhouette hanging in the dark like a lost memory. "Is it really her?" I whispered, my voice barely above a breath. "It looks like it," Graves replied, awe creeping into her tone. "But we need to approach with caution. We don't know what condition they're in." I nodded, adrenaline surging through me as we navigated our way into the heart of the fleet. The sight of the Valor reignited a fire within me, one fueled by a desperate need for answers. What had happened to the crew? What darkness had swallowed them? As we got closer, I activated the ship's external cameras, sending a visual feed of our surroundings back to our display. My heart raced as I scanned the deck of the Valor. Its once proud hull was marked with deep gashes, like battle scars etched into its metal frame. "Open a channel," I ordered, gripping the console. "Let's see if we can make contact." Graves complied, her fingers deftly tapping the controls. The ship's communication system crackled to life, and I felt a wave of anticipation wash over me. "This is Commander Jackson Hale of the Endeavor. We've located the Valor. Do you read?" Silence echoed back, a void that seemed to stretch indefinitely. I glanced at Graves, who looked just as tense, her eyes darting over the readings. "Try again," I urged, my pulse quickening. "Let them know we're friendly." "Valor, this is Endeavor. Please respond." She repeated the message, her voice steady but tinged with urgency. "We are here to help." Finally, a distorted voice broke through the static, sending a chill down my spine. "Endeavor, this is the Valor. We are inoperable. We need assistance." My heart raced. "What happened? What's your status?" There was a pause, the tension palpable. "We encountered the Echo. They are unlike anything we've faced before." "What do you mean?" I pressed, eager for details. "Anomalous readings, entities that manipulate reality," the voice continued, fear threading through each word. "They erased us from time. We've been adrift for too long. You must leave, before it happens to you too." A chill settled over me, a sense of dread swelling in the pit of my stomach. "What do you mean? We can help you. We can get you out of here." "No," the voice snapped, desperation coloring the reply. "You don't understand. The Echo is aware of you now. They've been watching, waiting. You need to." The transmission cut off abruptly, the silence that followed ringing in my ears. I exchanged a panicked glance with Graves, who was already working to restore the connection. "Try again," I urged, my heart pounding in my chest. But the only response was static. "What just happened?" I said, my voice a harsh whisper. Graves's face was ashen. "They're in danger. Whatever the Echo is, it's already targeting us." Just as she finished speaking, the ship's alarms blared, red lights flashing in the cockpit. "We're being scanned," Graves exclaimed, her fingers racing over the controls. "Get us out of here," I shouted, my heart racing as I braced for impact. The ship lurched as Graves punched in evasive maneuvers, our engines roaring to life. The view outside the cockpit morphed into a whirlwind of stars as we broke free from the gravitational pull of the fleet. "Where do we go?" I yelled, adrenaline coursing through me. "Back the way we came," she shouted, her focus unyielding. "If we can get enough distance, I can cloak the ship. We can hide until we figure out our next move." As we sped away from the ominous presence of the Valor, I couldn't shake the feeling that the Echo was closing in, a shadow lurking just out of sight. What had we awakened, and what did it mean for our mission to uncover the truth? With the Echo hot on our trail and the fate of the Valor weighing heavily on my mind, I steeled myself for what lay ahead. We were in deeper than I had ever imagined, and the path forward was fraught with danger. But we couldn't turn back now. We had to find the answers hidden in the dark. "Hold on tight," I called out, my heart racing. "It's going to get bumpy." The ship rattled around us as we entered the warp field, the sound of metal creaking under pressure resonating through the Endeavor. My pulse quickened, fueled by the adrenaline of our escape and the lingering dread of the unknown Echo. The stars outside twisted and blurred, streaking past like the memories I struggled to hold onto. "We're cloaked," Graves said, her fingers flying over the console as she monitored our surroundings. "But it won't hold for long. We need a plan." I nodded, struggling to focus on the task at hand. "Let's review the data we got from the Valor. Whatever they faced, we need to understand it better." Graves nodded, pulling up the fragmented logs we had collected. There were mentions of anomalies and entities, things that manipulate reality, but the details are sparse. "Could be they were cut off from the core," I said, pacing the small space of the cockpit. "Or maybe they simply couldn't comprehend what they were dealing with." "Whatever it is," Graves replied, her brow furrowing as she continued scrolling through the logs, "it doesn't sound good. Look at this." She tapped on a particular entry, and a series of distorted visuals filled the screen, a mix of static and shadowy figures that danced across the display. I leaned closer, my heart thudding in my chest. "What are we looking at?" "It appears to be some sort of rift," she replied, her voice barely a whisper. "The Valor encountered it shortly before losing contact. They described it as a gateway, but to where, we don't know." "Did they attempt to enter it?" I asked, my mind racing with the implications. "Seems like they did," Graves said, her gaze fixed on the images. "But the last entry is cut off mid-sentence. Whatever happened next was catastrophic." The weight of her words hung heavy in the air. What kind of threat could erase an entire fleet from existence? The questions gnawed at me, growing darker with every passing moment. "What if the Echo is tied to that rift?" I mused aloud. "What if they're waiting for us to make the same mistake?" "Then we can't let that happen," she replied, her eyes hardening with resolve. "We need to find a way to close it, or at least keep ourselves away from it." I took a deep breath, my mind whirling as I considered our next move. "Let's get back to the Galactic Council. They need to know what we've uncovered and prepare for the worst." Graves hesitated, her fingers hovering over the console. "You think they'll listen, after everything we've seen?" "We don't have a choice," I said firmly, determination flooding my veins. "If there's a chance the Echo is targeting Earth, we can't leave our home unprotected." She nodded slowly, and I could see the flicker of doubt still lingering in her eyes. "Okay, but we'll need a safe route. If the Echo is aware of us." Before she could finish, the ship jolted violently, sending us both crashing against our harnesses. Alarms blared, and the cockpit lights flickered erratically. "What the hell was that?" I shouted, my heart racing. "Impact! We've been hit!" Graves exclaimed, her hands flying over the controls as she struggled to stabilize the ship. "We're losing power." "Can you reroute?" I yelled, adrenaline surging as I gripped the edge of my seat. "I'll try," she shouted back, her focus unwavering despite the chaos surrounding us. As the ship shuddered beneath us, I glanced out the viewport, my heart sinking. A dark silhouette loomed behind us, its form shifting and distorting against the backdrop of the warp field. It was the Echo. "They've found us," I shouted, my voice rising above the cacophony. "We need to." "Hold on," Graves shouted as she yanked the controls, attempting to maneuver us away from the pursuing entity. The ship lurched violently again, and I could feel the strain on the hull. My instincts kicked in, pushing me to focus. "Activate defensive systems. We can't let them take us." "I'm on it," she punched in the commands, and the ship's shields flared to life, enveloping us in a shimmering barrier. The Echo drew closer, its shadows swirling with a haunting elegance, as if it were alive. "Prepare to engage," I commanded, my heart pounding as I tightened my grip on the console. "If it comes to it, we'll fight." "Don't be reckless," Graves shouted, her voice tinged with panic. "We need to survive first." "Survival doesn't matter if Earth is in danger," I countered, my mind racing. "We need to understand what we're dealing with. If the Echo wants to end us, we can't let it do so without knowing why." As I glanced at the readings, I caught a glimpse of the energy signatures emanating from the Echo. They pulsed and throbbed like a heartbeat, and a realization hit me hard. The Echo wasn't just an enemy, it was a force of nature. "Graves, can we track its movements?" I asked urgently. "Tracking, but it's erratic," she replied, eyes glued to the screen. "It's not just pursuing us, it's predicting our movements." "Then we need to disrupt its pattern," I said, my thoughts racing. "Initiate evasive maneuvers, use the cloak to confuse it." With a fierce determination, Graves complied, her fingers flying over the controls as we twisted and turned through the warp field. The ship groaned as we narrowly avoided the Echo's grasp, the darkness swirling around us like a living nightmare. But as we danced through the void, I felt the weight of impending doom creeping in. "Graves, we need to find a way to get back to the fleet. If we can regroup." The cockpit shook violently again, and I was thrown against the console. The lights flickered, and I grunted in pain as I pushed myself upright. "System failures," Graves shouted, her voice laced with desperation. "We can't keep this up much longer." "Focus, we have to make a decision now," I yelled, my mind racing. "We either head back to the Valor or risk everything to reach the Council." "Jackson, if we return, we might lead the Echo straight to them," Graves countered, her eyes wide with fear. I met her gaze, feeling the gravity of our choices. "Then we fight. We can't let fear dictate our path. If the Echo wants to rewrite history, it will have to do so over our dead bodies." With that, I made my choice. We would head back to the Valor, confront the shadows of the past, and face whatever awaited us. But in the back of my mind, I could still feel the Echo watching, waiting for its moment to strike. "Let's do this," I said, steeling myself for the challenges ahead. "Prepare to re-engage with the Valor. We're going home." The warp field flickered, and the familiar silhouette of the Valor materialized in front of us like a ghost emerging from the fog. Relief washed over me, quickly followed by a wave of dread. The ship had been our lifeline, a bastion against the unknown. But now it loomed like a haunted memory, echoing with the ghosts of its crew. What had happened to them? "Graves, can you establish contact?" I asked, my heart racing as I studied the darkened hull of the Valor. There were no signs of life, no signals pinging back at us. "I'm trying, but there's interference," she replied, her fingers tapping furiously on the console. "It's like a field around the ship is blocking communication." Could it be the Echo? I mused, anxiety creeping back into my thoughts. If it's tied to this ship, we could be walking into a trap. "We don't have much choice," she said grimly. "We need to board and gather whatever data we can. It's our only chance to understand what really happened." I nodded, steeling myself for what lay ahead. "Prepare for docking. Keep the shields up until we're sure it's safe." As the Endeavour maneuvered toward the Valor, the sense of foreboding tightened in my chest. The docking process felt agonizingly slow, and every second stretched into an eternity. I could sense the Echo lurking just beyond our sight, waiting for an opportunity to strike. "Docking successful," Graves announced, her voice tinged with apprehension. "We're secure." "Good. Let's move," I urged, gripping my weapon tightly as we exited the cockpit. The narrow corridor of the Endeavour led us to the airlock, where I took a moment to steel my resolve. As the airlock opened, we were greeted by an unsettling silence. The familiar hum of the ship's systems was absent, replaced by an eerie stillness. The dim lights flickered weakly, casting shadows that danced like specters across the walls. "Stay close," I warned, my instincts sharpening as we stepped onto the Valor. "We don't know what's waiting for us." Graves followed closely, her eyes scanning the darkened corridors. "It's like a ghost ship," she whispered, her voice barely breaking the silence. "What happened here?" I glanced around, noting the signs of a struggle. Scratches on the walls, signs of hasty movement. Whatever had happened, it hadn't been pretty. "We'll find answers. We need to get to the command center." As we moved deeper into the ship, the tension grew thicker. Each step echoed in the silence, a reminder of how alone we were. The memories of the Valor's crew lingered in the air, and I could almost hear their voices, warning us of the darkness that lay ahead. When we reached the command center, I hesitated at the doorway, my heart racing. "On 3, I said, raising my weapon. 1, 2. I flung the door open on 3, ready to confront whatever lay inside. The command center was in disarray, screens shattered, consoles flickering with static, and the faint smell of burnt wiring filled the air. But the most shocking sight was the central holographic display, still partially functional, displaying fragmented data streams. "Look," Graves exclaimed, moving toward the console. "There's still some data intact." I rushed to her side as she accessed the terminal, her fingers flying over the controls. The screens illuminated with chaotic readings, images flickering between static and distorted footage. "What are we looking at?" I asked, my eyes darting over the information. "It seems like the Valor was investigating a series of anomalies, just like we encountered," she said, her brow furrowing. "They were tracking energy signatures that led them to that rift." Could it be linked to the Echo? I wondered aloud, my mind racing. If they made contact? "Maybe that's what drew the Echo to them," Graves replied, her voice strained with realization. "They stumbled into something they shouldn't have." As she continued to sift through the data, a chilling image materialized on the screen. It showed the rift, an ominous swirl of dark energy, pulsating and throbbing as if it were alive. "There," I pointed, the significance hitting me like a punch to the gut. "That's the rift we saw in the logs." "Yes, but it's much larger," Graves said, her eyes widening. "And this recording, it's like the Valor was attempting to analyze it. They thought they could control it." "Control something like that?" I shook my head in disbelief. "That's insane." "Desperation can drive people to do reckless things," she said quietly, her gaze fixed on the screen. "They were trying to harness the Echo's power, to turn it into a weapon." "Or to protect themselves," I added, my thoughts racing. "They must have believed they could face it. But whatever happened, it backfired." As we continued to watch the footage, a shadow flickered across the display, a figure, half-formed, moving through the distortion of the rift. My heart raced. "Did you see that? Rewind." Graves quickly rewound the recording, and the figure materialized again, clearer this time. "What the hell is that?" I whispered, staring at the spectral form that hovered within the rift. "I don't know," Graves said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It looks familiar." Before I could ask her to elaborate, the console suddenly flashed with warning signals, interrupting our focus. The ship's systems were in turmoil, alarms blaring as the lights flickered dangerously. "Jackson, we need to go," Graves shouted, panic creeping into her voice. "Something's happening." I nodded, adrenaline surging through my veins. "We need to get back to the Endeavour, if the Echo is here." As we turned to leave, the darkness outside the command center seemed to coalesce, forming tendrils that reached toward us. I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. "Hurry." We sprinted back through the corridors, but the air thickened with an unnatural chill, each step feeling heavier than the last. It was as if the ship itself was warning us, urging us to escape before it was too late. As we reached the airlock, a shadow moved just beyond the threshold, blocking our exit. My heart pounded in my chest. "What is that?" I whispered, fear clawing at my throat. Graves clutched my arm tightly, her eyes wide with terror. "It's the Echo," she gasped. "It's here." The shadow coalesced into a dark figure, its form shifting and swirling as it loomed before us. I could feel its presence, a cold void that threatened to engulf everything in its wake. "Run!" I shouted, pushing Graves forward as I aimed my weapon at the figure. But it merely flickered, mocking our attempts to escape. The air crackled with energy, and I could hear whispers, a cacophony of voices, mingling with the memories of the Valor's crew. They were trapped within the Echo, just as we were. "Get back!" I yelled, my heart racing as I prepared to fire. But before I could pull the trigger, the figure surged forward, wrapping its dark tendrils around us. I felt the cold grip of despair wash over me, and in that moment I understood. The Echo wasn't just an enemy, it was a force that consumed, a darkness that thrived on fear and uncertainty. As we were drawn into its embrace, I caught one last glimpse of the command center, of the memories we had unearthed, and I realized the truth. The Echo wasn't just rewriting our history, it was a manifestation of our own fears, a reflection of the darkness we carried within. In that fleeting moment, as darkness enveloped us, I resolved to fight. No matter what it took, we would break free from its grasp. We would rewrite our own fate. With a fierce determination burning in my chest, I yelled into the void, "We're not done yet." I was drowning, enveloped in an oppressive darkness that clung to my skin like a suffocating shroud. The echoes of voices filled my ears, whispers weaving through the fabric of my consciousness, pulling me deeper into despair. My mind screamed against the void, fighting to hold on to reality, but the echo's grip was relentless. Then, in the chaos, a familiar presence broke through the static. Graves' voice, clear and defiant, cut through the darkness. "Jackson, focus. Remember who you are." I latched onto her words, pushing against the tide of despair. "I won't let it take us," I shouted, forcing my thoughts to the surface. With every ounce of willpower, I envisioned light piercing the dark, a beacon guiding me back to the world I knew. Suddenly, the pressure around me released, and I gasped as if emerging from beneath icy water. I found myself in a distorted version of the command center, the walls flickering with shadows and light. Graves stood beside me, her expression fierce, eyes burning with determination. "We're still in the Echo," she exclaimed, scanning our surroundings. "But this is a manifestation of our fears. We need to confront it." The realization hit me like a thunderclap. It's not just a creature. It's a reflection of everything we're afraid of: failure, loss, the unknown. Graves nodded. "We can't let it control us. We need to take back our narrative." As we steeled ourselves, the shadows morphed around us, twisting and writhing. They formed into specters, visions of our past failures, regrets, and fears. I saw flashes of my life, moments of doubt, decisions I regretted, and people I had lost. Each image gripped my heart like a vice, threatening to pull me back into the void. "No," I shouted, stepping forward. "These are not my truth. They do not define who I am." Graves stepped beside me, her voice unwavering. "We have the power to reshape this. We define our path." With our combined determination, we focused on the essence of our mission, the hope of humanity, the strength we carried within us, and the love we had for those we fought to protect. As we channeled that energy, the shadows began to falter, shrinking back as the light of our resolve surged forward. "Let's break the cycle," I yelled, and with a fierce shout, we unleashed our combined will against the Echo. The darkness shuddered violently, and the specters writhed in agony. I felt the weight of the Echo pressing against us, but we stood firm, determined to push through. We wouldn't let it consume us. We were more than our fears. As the light expanded, it illuminated the command center, revealing the truth hidden beneath the layers of darkness. The specters dissolved into wisps of smoke, and the room began to stabilize around us. "This is our command center," I realized, glancing around. but it's also a bridge between what we fear and who we truly are. Graves nodded, her expression shifting to one of fierce resolve. If we can confront our fears here, we can emerge stronger. We need to find the source of the echo's power. With newfound clarity, we moved through the remnants of the command center, now bathed in light. Data streams flickered on the walls, revealing information we had yet to uncover. Look, Graves pointed to a panel that had once been obscured. These readings, they're still operational. We can analyze the echo's core. We approached the terminal, and I could feel the weight of the air shifting around us, a pulse of energy thrumming beneath the surface. It was as if the ship itself had come alive, responding to our resolve. "I'll try to stabilize the data feeds," Graves said, her fingers dancing over the console. "We need to access the core of the echo to understand its nature." As she worked, the images on the screens began to coalesce, fractured glimpses of the echo's energy patterns and its chaotic behavior. I felt a shiver run down my spine as I recognized the familiar swirling darkness. It's not just a mindless entity, I realized, staring at the data. It's intelligent. It reacts to our thoughts, our fears. It feeds on them. "Which means we can't let it control us," Graves affirmed, her brow furrowed in concentration. "We need to understand it, to find a way to neutralize its influence." Suddenly, the lights flickered ominously, and the walls shook as the echo reacted to our probing. I could feel it pushing back, angry at our intrusion, as shadows coalesced in the corners of the room, forming a vortex of darkness. "Get ready," I shouted, preparing to defend our position. "It's fighting back." The room plunged into chaos as the shadows lunged toward us, but instead of fear, I felt an exhilarating rush of adrenaline. We had faced this darkness before, and now we were armed with knowledge. "Stay focused," I yelled, raising my weapon. "We're not afraid." As we stood together, united in our purpose, the darkness hesitated. The shadows flickered, caught between our resolve and the echo's wrath. Graves's voice cut through the chaos. "We need to disrupt its energy flow. If we can destabilize its core, we can weaken it." I nodded, quickly accessing the terminal. "What do we need to do?" "Overload the system. Use the power of the ship against it," she replied, her eyes alight with determination. As she guided me through the process, I felt the energy shifting around us, the walls vibrating with intensity. We were pulling together the remnants of the Valor systems, channeling that energy into a weapon against the echo. The shadows lunged again, but we stood firm, drawing on the strength of our connection. "Together," I shouted, and we unleashed the energy in a brilliant flash of light. The dark figure recoiled, its form distorting and flickering as the energy struck it. I felt a rush of exhilaration. We were pushing it back, but I knew this wasn't over. As the room exploded with light, the echo screams filled the air, echoes of fear and anger clashing against our resolve. We had to finish this. "Just a little more," Graves urged, her voice rising above the chaos. "We're almost there." With one final surge, we directed the energy toward the core of the echo. The darkness convulsed violently, and for a moment, I thought we might be consumed. But then, with a thunderous crack, the shadows shattered, dissolving into wisps of smoke that scattered like ashes in the wind. We stood panting in the aftermath, the command center transformed. The air was lighter, the oppressive weight of fear lifted. We had pushed back the echo, but I knew this was only a temporary victory. "What now?" Graves asked, glancing at the data still flickering on the screens. "We need to find the heart of the echo," I said, my voice steady. "We need to understand where it comes from and how to stop it once and for all. The mystery isn't over yet." "Let's do it," she replied, determination shining in her eyes. As we stepped forward, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. We were no longer victims of the darkness. We were warriors, ready to confront the unknown and reclaim our narrative. With the remnants of the echo behind us, we prepared to delve deeper into the mysteries of the Valor, ready to uncover the truth that lay ahead. The echoes of our past no longer held power over us. Together, we would forge our destiny. The walls of the Valor pulsed with energy as we navigated deeper into the ship, each step echoing with the intensity of our recent battle against the Echo. The remnants of darkness still lingered, but our newfound clarity fueled our resolve. We were determined to uncover the source of this malevolence and ensure that it never threatened us again. "Where do we even start?" Graves asked, her voice steady, though I could see the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. "The core," I replied, glancing at the readings on the terminal. "If we can locate the central chamber, we might find the heart of the Echo." As I scrolled through the data, a map of the ship illuminated on the screen, revealing a path to the core. My heart raced as I traced the route with my finger. This way. We moved swiftly, navigating the twisting corridors that had once felt claustrophobic, but now seemed to pulse with purpose. The air was thick with anticipation, every shadow a reminder of the battle we just fought. "Jackson," Graves said, breaking the silence, "what do you think we'll find? What if the Echo isn't just a creature? What if it's something more?" Her question hung in the air, heavy with implications. I contemplated her words, feeling the weight of the mystery press down on us. If it's tied to our fears, it could be a manifestation of something we don't fully understand, a defense mechanism, perhaps, or a warning. The Valor has been lost for a millennium. It could hold ancient knowledge. Graves nodded, her expression resolute. "Then we'll find it and make sense of it. We owe it to the crew and everyone who believed in the Valor's mission." As we approached the core chamber, the atmosphere shifted, the air charged with energy. The door stood before us, imposing and dark, covered in engravings that glowed faintly. I placed my hand on the cold surface, feeling a pulse beneath my palm, a heartbeat echoing through the metal. "Ready?" I asked, glancing at Graves. She took a deep breath, her eyes narrowing with determination. "Let's do this." With a firm push, the door hissed open, revealing a vast chamber bathed in a sickly green light. The walls were lined with strange symbols, shimmering with energy that seemed to resonate with our presence. In the center of the room, a swirling mass of darkness hovered, a storm contained, writhing with shadows and flickering light. "That's it," I breathed, stepping forward, drawn in by the pulsating energy. "That's the heart of the Echo." Graves remained at my side, her expression a mixture of awe and apprehension. "It's beautiful and terrifying." "What do we do now?" she asked, eyes locked onto the swirling mass. "We need to approach with caution. If this is the heart of the Echo, it's likely a nexus of its power. We need to understand its nature before we take any action." As we advanced, the shadows began to coalesce, forming shapes, hazy figures flickering in and out of existence. I recognized the faces, twisted in anguish, reflecting our fears back at us. Each one whispered our insecurities, reminding us of the failures we had faced. "Stay strong," I urged, feeling the urge to retreat. "These are just illusions." Graves stepped beside me, her presence a steady anchor. "We know who we are now. We can't let them control us." With a shared breath, we pushed deeper into the chamber, the whispers growing louder, the shadows more intense. The energy pulsing around us surged, wrapping us in a cocoon of light and dark. What if the Echo is trying to communicate? I wondered aloud. What if it's not just a predator, but something that wants to be understood? Graves turned to me, a spark of realization igniting in her eyes. "You're right. If we can connect with it, maybe we can find a way to neutralize its power without destroying it." The shadows roiled violently, as if sensing our intentions. I could feel the fear surging within me, threatening to pull me under. But we had come too far to turn back now. "Focus," I said, closing my eyes. "Think of our mission. Think of humanity, of our potential." As I envisioned our future, a surge of warmth spread through the chamber. The shadows hesitated, swirling gently, their forms softening. I opened my eyes, and the darkness before us shimmered, revealing a flicker of light at its core. "Look," I pointed, "it's responding." Graves stepped closer, reaching out a hand. "I think we can reach it. If we extend our intentions, we might be able to break through." With our combined focus, we reached out to the heart of the echo. I concentrated on the hope and determination that had driven us throughout our journey. The belief that we could overcome, that we were capable of more. The swirling mass reacted, pulsating with a rhythm that matched our heartbeats. I could feel it responding to our emotions, the darkness shifting and adapting. It was like dancing with shadows, the lines between us blurring. "Now," I shouted, pouring everything we had into that connection. "Show us your true form." The mass surged forward, enveloping us in a cocoon of light and dark. I felt the weight of time pressing down, the echoes of 1,000 fears melding with the hope of a future unbound. Then, suddenly, everything went still. In that silence, I saw it, a vision of the echo's origin, glimpses of its past. It had not always been a monster. It had once been a protector, a guardian of knowledge lost to time. It was the embodiment of ancient fears, a remnant of a civilization long gone, twisted by isolation and pain. "We have to help it," I gasped, the realization hitting me like a bolt of lightning. "It's suffering." Graves nodded, understanding dawning in her eyes. "We need to restore its purpose, show it that we're not its enemies." With that understanding, we poured our energy into the heart of the echo, transforming our fears into a chorus of hope. The shadows writhed, and the mass began to shift, reshaping into something less menacing, revealing a core of luminescent light surrounded by swirling darkness. "Together," I urged, feeling the connection deepen. As we united our voices, the chamber erupted with energy, the echoes of our past merging with a light of possibility. The heart of the echo pulsed in response, resonating with our intentions, and for the first time, I felt its pain begin to ease. "We can rewrite this," I whispered, feeling a rush of power course through me. "We can give it a new story." With that thought, the swirling mass transformed, the darkness dissipating into a beautiful array of colors, a visual representation of our shared history, our struggles, and our triumphs. The heart of the echo flickered brightly, illuminating the chamber with its radiant glow. I could feel its gratitude, a wave of warmth washing over us as it acknowledged our presence. "Now we understand," I breathed, tears prickling at the corners of my eyes. "Now we can help you." As we continued to channel our energy into the heart of the echo, I felt a shift in the atmosphere, a change in the very fabric of our reality. Together, we were rewriting the narrative, transforming fear into hope, chaos into purpose. But the journey was far from over. We needed to uncover the truth of the echo's creation and ensure that it would never again fall victim to the darkness. With renewed determination, I turned to Graves, the bond between us stronger than ever. "Let's finish this. We have the power to change everything." As the heart of the echo pulsed with light, I knew we were on the brink of something extraordinary, a revelation that would rewrite our understanding of history and redefine our place in the galaxy. Together, we would emerge victorious, not just for ourselves, but for all of humanity. The heart of the echo pulsed with an ethereal glow, illuminating the chamber with radiant hues of blue and gold. My mind raced as the energy swirled around us, blending our intentions with the echo's essence. It was an amalgamation of hope and revelation, a powerful reminder of what we were capable of when united. "What now?" Graves asked, her eyes reflecting the luminous energy. "How do we ensure this doesn't happen again?" I felt the weight of her question settle in my chest. "We need to dive deeper into its history, to understand what led to its corruption. There has to be a reason the echo turned into a nightmare." The pulsating light responded to my thoughts, the shadows swirling around us like a protective cocoon. I stepped closer to the heart, feeling an overwhelming connection, as if the echo itself was inviting us to unravel its past. "Show us," I whispered, focusing my thoughts on the heart of the echo. "Reveal your history." The energy surged, and suddenly the chamber was filled with images, snapshots of a vibrant civilization. I was thrust into a world where advanced beings thrived, their cities shimmering with light, technology intertwined with nature. "This is it," I murmured, breathless as the images unfolded. "It's beautiful." Graves leaned closer, her gaze fixated on the scenes before us. But something must have gone wrong. The next images flickered into view, shadows creeping across the land, discord rising among the inhabitants. The vibrant cities became battlegrounds, the once harmonious civilization splintering into factions, each one fighting for control over the echo's energy. They destroyed themselves, I breathed, realizing the weight of their choices. Their greed and fear twisted their purpose. In the images, I could see the heart of the echo at the center, once a beacon of hope, now a tool of war. Its essence began to fracture, reflecting the chaos around it, and it became an entity of despair, feeding off the darkness that engulfed the civilization. "Jackson," Graves said, her voice trembling, "if this is true, we have to warn the Galactic Council. They need to know the truth." As if sensing our determination, the heart pulsed again, the energy flowing through me. More images came into focus, an ancient warning etched into the walls of the cities, a prophecy that foretold the return of the echo, along with its potential to consume all. "There's more," I murmured, captivated by the urgency of the scenes. They knew what was coming. They tried to contain it but failed. The heart radiated a sense of desperation, reflecting the civilization's attempts to regain control. Their last efforts were heart-wrenching, sacrificing themselves to seal the echo away, hoping it would never harm anyone again. "This is the secret," I said, piecing together the fragments of history. They locked it away, but in doing so, they birthed its wrath. Graves stared at me, realization dawning in her eyes. And the echo's return was inevitable. We need to uncover the truth and share it with everyone. With renewed urgency, I felt the energy of the heart intertwining with my thoughts. We must break the cycle. We need to prevent history from repeating itself. As we continued to absorb the echo's memories, the chamber around us flickered and shifted, the colors blending into a vivid tapestry of past and present. Each heartbeat of the echo resonated with our shared mission, to rewrite the narrative of fear and pain, to create a legacy of unity and understanding. Suddenly, the images became fragmented, crashing together like waves in a storm. I gasped as the energy around us began to destabilize, shadows creeping back, threatening to consume the light we had awakened. "We're losing it," Graves shouted, her voice breaking through the chaos. "Focus," I yelled back, gripping her hand tightly. "We need to ground ourselves in the truth we've discovered." With a surge of determination, I channeled my energy into the heart of the echo, pulling Graves with me. "We have to stabilize it." The heart responded, but the darkness was relentless, swirling around us, feeding off our fears. I could feel the weight of our past bearing down, our failures, our losses, the uncertainty of what lay ahead. But amidst the chaos, I saw a glimmer of hope, a memory of unity, of collaboration. "Think of our victory," I urged. "Remember our resolve. We will not let the darkness win." As I poured every ounce of strength into that memory, the heart pulsed brighter, pushing back against the shadows. Together, we stood firm, anchoring our intentions in the truth we had uncovered. The heart shuddered, and in that moment of clarity, the memories returned. I could feel the essence of the echo transforming, reshaping itself from a creature of despair into a beacon of hope. "Now," I shouted, summoning every ounce of energy we had. "Let's rewrite history." With a final surge, the heart erupted in a cascade of light, enveloping the chamber and pushing back the darkness. The walls shimmered with the radiant colors of hope, and the shadows dissolved, revealing the truth we had fought to uncover. In that moment, we were no longer just witnesses to history, we were its architects. Together, we had the power to shape the narrative, to ensure the mistakes of the past would not define our future. As the chamber filled with light, I knew our journey was far from over. We had uncovered the truth of the echo, but the path ahead would be fraught with challenges. We had to share our findings with the Galactic Council and prepare for whatever consequences lay ahead. As the light enveloped us, I turned to Graves, a fierce determination igniting within me. "Let's finish this. We have a galaxy to save." The heart of the echo pulsed with an ethereal glow, illuminating the chamber with radiant hues of blue and gold. My mind raced as the energy swirled around us, blending our intentions with the echo's essence. It was an amalgamation of hope and revelation, a powerful reminder of what we were capable of when united. "What now?" Graves asked, her eyes reflecting the luminous energy. "How do we ensure this doesn't happen again?" I felt the weight of her question settle in my chest. "We need to dive deeper into its history, to understand what led to its corruption. There has to be a reason the echo turned into a nightmare." The pulsating light responded to my thoughts, the shadows swirling around us like a protective cocoon. I stepped closer to the heart, feeling an overwhelming connection, as if the echo itself was inviting us to unravel its past. "Show us," I whispered, focusing my thoughts on the heart of the echo. "Reveal your history." The energy surged, and suddenly, the chamber was filled with images, snapshots of a vibrant civilization. I was thrust into a world where advanced beings thrived, their cities shimmering with light, technology intertwined with nature. "This is it," I murmured, breathless as the images unfolded. "It's beautiful." Graves leaned closer, her gaze fixated on the scenes before us. But something must have gone wrong. The next images flickered into view, shadows creeping across the land, discord rising among the inhabitants. The vibrant cities became battlegrounds, the once harmonious civilizations splintering into factions, each one fighting for control over the echo's energy. "They destroyed themselves," I breathed, realizing the weight of their choices. Their greed and fear twisted their purpose. In the images, I could see the heart of the echo at the center, once a beacon of hope, now a tool of war. Its essence began to fracture, reflecting the chaos around it, and it became an entity of despair, feeding off the darkness that engulfed the civilization. "Jackson," Graves said, her voice trembling, "if this is true, we have to warn the Galactic Council. They need to know the truth." As if sensing our determination, the heart pulsed again, the energy flowing through me. More images came into focus, an ancient warning etched into the walls of the cities, a prophecy that foretold the return of the echo, along with its potential to consume all. "There's more," I murmured, captivated by the urgency of the scenes. They knew what was coming. They tried to contain it but failed. The heart radiated a sense of desperation, reflecting the civilization's attempts to regain control. Their last efforts were heart-wrenching, sacrificing themselves to seal the echo away, hoping it would never harm anyone again. "This is the secret," I said, piecing together the fragments of history. They locked it away, but in doing so, they birthed its wrath. Graves stared at me, realization dawning in her eyes. And the echo's return was inevitable. We need to uncover the truth and share it with everyone. With renewed urgency, I felt the energy of the heart intertwining with my thoughts. We must break the cycle. We need to prevent history from repeating itself. As we continued to absorb the echo's memories, the chamber around us flickered and shifted, the colors blending into a vivid tapestry of past and present. Each heartbeat of the echo resonated with our shared mission, to rewrite the narrative of fear and pain, to create a legacy of unity and understanding. Suddenly, the images became fragmented, crashing together like waves in a storm. I gasped as the energy around us began to destabilize, shadows creeping back, threatening to consume the light we had awakened. "We're losing it," Graves shouted, her voice breaking through the chaos. "Focus," I yelled back, gripping her hand tightly. "We need to ground ourselves in the truth we've discovered." With a surge of determination, I channeled my energy into the heart of the echo, pulling Graves with me. "We have to stabilize it." The heart responded, but the darkness was relentless, swirling around us, feeding off our fears. I could feel the weight of our past bearing down, our failures, our losses, the uncertainty of what lay ahead. But amidst the chaos, I saw a glimmer of hope, a memory of unity, of collaboration. "Think of our victory," I urged. "Remember our resolve. We will not let the darkness win." As I poured every ounce of strength into that memory, the heart pulsed brighter, pushing back against the shadows. Together, we stood firm, anchoring our intentions in the truth we had uncovered. The heart shuddered, and in that moment of clarity, the memories returned. I could feel the essence of the echo transforming, reshaping itself from a creature of despair into a beacon of hope. "Now," I shouted, summoning every ounce of energy we had, "let's rewrite history." With a final surge, the heart erupted in a cascade of light, enveloping the chamber and pushing back the darkness. The walls shimmered with the radiant colors of hope, and the shadows dissolved, revealing the truth we had fought to uncover. In that moment, we were no longer just witnesses to history, we were its architects. Together, we had the power to shape the narrative, to ensure the mistakes of the past would not define our future. As the chamber filled with light, I knew our journey was far from over. We had uncovered the truth of the echo, but the path ahead would be fraught with challenges. We had to share our findings with the Galactic Council and prepare for whatever consequences lay ahead. As the light enveloped us, I turned to Graves, a fierce determination igniting within me. "Let's finish this. We have a galaxy to save." The echo's heart settled into a steady rhythm, its glow now pulsing with a more benevolent energy. We took a moment to breathe, our minds racing with the implications of what we had just witnessed. The vast history of the Echo, a civilization torn apart by its own darkness, now lay bare before us. "We need to move quickly," I said, scanning the chamber. "The Council needs this information, but we'll have to present it carefully. They may not believe us." Graves nodded, her expression resolute. "We have to find a way to document everything. If we can record this, we can prove our claims." I turned my gaze back to the heart of the Echo. "It might help us. We could use its energy to create a transmission, something that will resonate throughout the council chambers. If they feel the power of the echo, they'll have to listen." Graves' eyes lit up with determination. "Let's do it." I stepped closer to the heart, letting its energy flow through me. I closed my eyes, visualizing the transmission we needed. The echo's essence enveloped me, amplifying my thoughts. I felt a connection to the vastness of the galaxy, and it fueled my resolve. "Now," I shouted, "let's send a message." Together, we poured our energy into the echo, channeling our intention into a beam of light that shot up through the chamber, piercing the ceiling. The walls shimmered and vibrated, the air crackling with power. I focused on the message we needed to send, feeling the echoes of the past and our urgent warning weaving together. The light expanded, filling the chamber with a blinding glow. "We must ensure they understand the urgency," I shouted over the roar of the energy. "The echo could return, and they need to prepare." As the beam shot upward, I felt the connection to the Galactic Council deepening. Images of the council chambers materialized in my mind, the vast, circular room filled with representatives from various species, their faces etched with skepticism and fear. In that moment, I sent my consciousness into the transmission, planting the images of the echo's history and the consequences of its misuse directly into their minds. I wanted them to see the vibrant civilization, the chaos that ensued, and the potential for the echo's return. Suddenly, a ripple of energy surged through me, and I gasped. "Graves, the connection, it's destabilizing." "I can feel it too," she replied, her voice laced with urgency. "Hold on." The heart trembled, and the beam flickered, sending flashes of light cascading across the chamber. I focused harder, pouring every ounce of energy into stabilizing the connection, determined to reach the council. I could feel Graves beside me, her strength fortifying my resolve. Finally, the beam steadied, a brilliant column of light that pierced through the darkness. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding, relief washing over me. We did it. As the energy pulsed, I could sense the council's response. I envisioned their astonishment, their eyes widening, as they witnessed the truth we had unveiled. Then came the tremor. A dark force from the shadows began to claw at our connection, drawing energy away from the echo. "No, we can't let it go," I yelled, panic gripping me. "Hold it," Graves shouted, her voice a rallying cry. "We can't lose this." I felt the darkness intensifying, threatening to engulf us, to sever the bond we had just forged. The pulse of the heart began to waver, flickering in time with our heartbeats. "Focus on the truth," I shouted, remembering the unity of the civilization that had come before us. Think of the light we witnessed, the beauty. We can't let fear and darkness win. Graves nodded, her gaze fierce. Together, we anchored our thoughts in the echo's essence, pulling its energy toward us. The heart responded, the glow growing brighter as we harnessed its power. With a final push, we directed the energy back into the beam, reinforcing our connection with the Galactic Council. I could feel the darkness retreating, the shadows losing their grip on our transmission. Almost there, Graves encouraged, her voice a beacon in the chaos. The energy surged, flooding the chamber with radiant light. The transmission stabilized, the images of the echo's history crystal clear as they reached the council members. I could sense their emotions, fear, curiosity, disbelief, until finally, I felt the tide shift. Acceptance began to wash over the council, and I knew we had reached them. As the chamber began to settle, the connection strengthened, pulsing with the truth we had fought to uncover. Together, we had become the architects of our future. Now, let's get out of here, I said, adrenaline still coursing through my veins. We have work to do. As we stepped away from the heart, I felt the weight of our journey settle in. The echo's past had become a catalyst for our present, and its legacy would guide us in the battles to come. Jackson, Graves said, her voice steadying. We need to prepare. The echo's return might have triggered more than just our warning. There will be others who want to harness its power. I nodded, feeling the truth of her words. And we'll be ready, together. With the knowledge of the echo's history, we knew our next steps. We would unite with the council, prepare for the inevitable conflicts, and forge alliances. We had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, bound by a shared mission. As we exited the chamber, I glanced back at the heart of the echo, its glow steady and inviting. I could feel its energy coursing through me, an eternal reminder of the power we held to shape our destiny. Together, we had taken the first step toward rewriting history. Now, we would ensure that the future was ours to claim. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but we would not waver. Armed with the truth of the echo, we would face whatever lay ahead, united, resolute, and unyielding. With each step forward, I felt the weight of our purpose. The legacy of the echo would become a rallying cry for those who believed in unity, understanding, and the relentless pursuit of hope. And as we emerged into the light, I knew that together, we would not only confront the darkness, but illuminate the path toward a brighter future. The galaxy awaited our return, and we were ready to face it head-on. The ship hummed with energy as we prepared to leave the echo's chamber. The pulsating light of the heart had infused the vanguard with a sense of purpose that I had never felt before. The crew, all of us, shared a newfound determination, and I could see it reflected in their eyes. "Commander Hale," Graves called, her voice cutting through the chatter. "I've compiled the data we transmitted to the Galactic Council. We need to ensure they act on it." "Good thinking," I replied, moving toward the ship's command center. I could feel the excitement thrumming through the crew, a shared pulse of adrenaline and fear. "Let's analyze the Council's response. We need to prepare for their next move." As we gathered around the holographic display, the faces of the Council members flickered into view, their expressions a mix of skepticism and intrigue. I could see several key figures, including Counselor Eris, who had always been an ardent skeptic of humanity's technological advancements. "Play back the transmission," I instructed, and the display illuminated with the images we had sent, a vivid recounting of the echo's history, the fall of a civilization, and the urgency of our warning. The council members leaned in, their gazes fixed intently on the projections. Eris crossed his arms, skepticism etched on his face. "You expect us to believe this, that a mere transmission can illustrate the intricacies of an ancient civilization's demise?" I stepped forward, my resolve unwavering. "What you just witnessed is the truth. The echo's energy is not just a remnant of a past civilization. It's a force that can either unite us or destroy us. We need to act before it's too late." One of the council members, a tall, imposing figure with luminescent skin, raised a brow. "And what do you propose? We simply accept this information without further investigation?" Graves interjected. We must send a delegation to the Echo's core, establish a permanent research outpost. We need to study the heart directly, learn how to harness its power for the good of all species. Another council member, a fierce-looking alien with iridescent scales, spoke up. You're suggesting we take a risk that could potentially endanger our very existence. You realize the Echo has already demonstrated its capacity for destruction. I felt the weight of their words. Yes, but knowledge is our greatest weapon against the unknown. We cannot repeat the mistakes of the past. We need to understand the Echo to prevent another catastrophe. The council murmured, voices rising and falling in a cacophony of debate. It was clear that divisions were already forming. I could feel Eris's disdain, his resistance simmering just below the surface. Enough, he barked, silencing the room. Let us consider the consequences. If we were to act on this, if we were to investigate further, we could unleash something far worse than we comprehend. Graves stepped closer to him, her voice steady. But if we do nothing, we risk allowing the Echo to consume everything we hold dear. History has shown us that inaction can lead to devastating consequences. Eris's eyes narrowed, but before he could respond, the holographic display flickered, revealing a new message. A shadow passed over the council members' faces as the urgency of the situation became tangible. Commander Hale, the display blared, shifting to a familiar voice. It was Admiral Kira Valen, one of the most respected figures in the Galactic fleet. We've received reports of hostile forces converging on the Echo's location. The Coalition is aware of your transmission and views it as a threat. Panic rippled through the council chamber, and I felt my stomach drop. Admiral, we need to send reinforcements immediately. They can't fall into the wrong hands. Kira's expression hardened. We're mobilizing forces now, but we need you to establish a defensive perimeter around the Echo. You must protect the heart at all costs. We can't afford another incident. I nodded, adrenaline coursing through my veins. Understood. Graves, prepare the vanguard for immediate departure. We'll head to the Echo's coordinates and establish a base of operations. Right away, Commander, she replied, already moving with purpose. As we shifted our focus, the Council's disarray turned into determination, the urgency palpable in the air. I could see alliances forming, Council members agreeing to support our mission, while others remained skeptical. We have to act fast, I said, my voice rising above the din. The Coalition will stop at nothing to seize the Echo. We must ensure its protection and use the knowledge we gain to unite our forces against them. Eris finally spoke up, his tone begrudgingly conciliatory. If you believe this is a path we must take, then I will support your mission. But I'll be sending an envoy with you. We can't afford any more mistakes. Agreed, I said, meeting his gaze. We'll need all the support we can get. But time is of the essence. Let's move. The Vanguard buzzed with energy as we prepared for departure, the crew a whirlwind of activity. Graves navigated the bridge, overseeing the systems as they powered up. Commander, we've received intel about the Coalition's forces, she said, her voice steady. They're mobilizing a fleet of warships. We might not have much time. Understood, I replied, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on my shoulders. We need to establish a defensive perimeter around the Echo immediately. If they're coming for it, we have to protect it at all costs. As the ship launched into the depths of space, I felt the familiar rush of adrenaline. The vastness stretched out before us, a tapestry of stars and potential. But beneath the thrill lay an undercurrent of anxiety. The stakes had never been higher. Jackson, Graves said, her voice breaking through my thoughts. What if we can't protect it? What if the Coalition gets their hands on the Echo? I turned to her, my heart heavy with the weight of uncertainty. We can't afford to think like that. We must focus on what we can control. We have to prepare ourselves for whatever comes. The ship shuddered as we entered the Echo's vicinity, the radiant energy pulsing in the distance, a beacon of light amidst the darkness. I felt a renewed sense of purpose as we drew closer. Establish communications with the fleet, I instructed, my heart racing. We need to coordinate our defense. They'll be here soon. Graves nodded, her fingers dancing over the controls. We're getting signals from the Aegis and Indomitable. They're ready to assist. Good, I replied, feeling a surge of hope. Let's make sure they understand the situation. We need to present a united front. As the crew worked seamlessly together, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were walking a tightrope. The coalition was ruthless, and their forces were formidable. If we were going to protect the Echo, we would need to stand together. Moments later, the Vanguard glided into position near the heart of the Echo. The ship's systems hummed as we engaged the defensive protocols, energy shields flickering to life around us. "Commander Hale," came a voice over the comms. It was Admiral Valen again, her tone serious. "We're picking up multiple ships on our scanners. They're approaching fast." "Understood," I replied, my pulse quickening. "Prepare for combat. We'll need to establish a blockade around the Echo. We cannot let them breach our defenses." The crew sprang into action, the atmosphere charged with adrenaline. I watched as the scanners lit up, displaying the approaching fleet, a coalition of warships, dark and imposing, slicing through the starry expanse toward us. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the coalition," Graves announced, her fingers flying over the controls. "They're demanding we relinquish control of the Echo and stand down." I felt a rush of anger. They expect us to hand over a piece of our history? We won't back down. "Shall I respond?" Graves asked, her gaze sharp. "No," I said firmly. "Let them come. We'll show them the power of unity. Prepare to engage." As the enemy ships drew closer, my heart raced, each beat echoing my resolve. I glanced at my crew, their expressions a mix of determination and fear. We were outnumbered, but we had something they didn't, knowledge and purpose. "Everyone, listen up," I shouted, my voice cutting through the tension. "We stand for the future of our galaxy. The Echo represents hope, unity, and the strength of our shared history. We will not let anyone take that away from us." Cheers erupted around the bridge, fueling my confidence. "Prepare to engage on my mark. Aim for their engines. We need to disable them without losing any lives." The enemy fleet loomed large on the scanners, dark silhouettes against the stars. I could feel the weight of the moment, the gravity of our choices bearing down on us. This was it, our stand against the encroaching darkness. 3, 2, 1, I counted down, my heart pounding in sync with the ship's engines. "Mark." "Firing weapons," Graves shouted, her hands moving with precision. The Vanguard shook as our weapon systems unleashed a volley of energy blasts, illuminating the darkness with vibrant light. I could see the enemy ships react, evasive maneuvers kicking in as they returned fire. "Shields holding steady," one of the crew members called out, and I felt a flicker of relief. "Keep them steady. We need to maintain our position," I urged, my eyes glued to the tactical displays. We were locked in a deadly dance of survival, our fate intertwined with the Echo's. As the battle raged on, I felt the energy of the Echo pulse around us, a reminder of the stakes we were fighting for. This was not just a fight for our lives, it was a fight for the future of the galaxy. "Admiral Valen, how are our reinforcements?" I shouted over the comms. "They're en route, but we need to hold the line until they arrive," Kira replied, her voice steady even amidst the chaos. "Understood," I gritted my teeth, determination surging through me. "We will hold." As our ship maneuvered through the barrage of enemy fire, I could see the Aegis and Indomitable in the distance, joining the fray. Their arrival brought a flicker of hope, a reminder that we were not alone. "Reinforcements are here," Graves shouted, her eyes alight with excitement. "Good. Let's push them back," I urged, directing our fire toward the enemy ships. The tide of the battle began to shift, the coalition's formation faltering as our combined forces pressed forward. I could see their ships taking damage, smoke trailing from their hulls as they struggled to maintain their position. "Keep the pressure on them," I called out. "We can't let them regroup." With each passing moment, The echo's light grew brighter, infusing us with strength. I could feel its energy coursing through our systems, amplifying our resolve as we fought against the tide of darkness. "Commander," Graves shouted, her voice urgent. "The Coalition is attempting to flank us." "Redirect our fire to their left wing," I ordered, adrenaline surging as we pushed forward. As the battle raged on, the stakes intensified. The echo pulsed in the distance, a reminder of everything we were fighting for. I could feel the weight of history pressing down on us, urging us to hold our ground. "Target their engines," I yelled, watching as our weapons fired once more, tearing through the void. With every shot, I felt the momentum shift in our favor. The Coalition ships faltered, their formations breaking apart as we pressed our advantage. I could see their command ship struggling to maintain control, and a sense of determination surged through me. "Let's finish this," I shouted, rallying my crew. As the last of the Coalition ships fell under our barrage, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. We had defended the Echo, but the cost of our victory weighed heavily on my heart. "Status report," I commanded, my breath coming in quick bursts. "Minor damage to the hull, but we're holding steady," Graves replied, her expression a mix of triumph and concern. "Good. Let's assess the situation and prepare for any further threats," I ordered, my mind racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. As the crew worked to stabilize the ship, I felt the weight of our victory settle in. The Echo pulsed in the distance, a beacon of light amidst the chaos. I knew our battle was far from over, and the true test lay ahead. "We've held our ground," I said, my voice steady. "But we need to ensure the Echo remains protected. We can't let this be the end." Graves nodded, determination etched on her face. "We'll strengthen our defenses and prepare for any further threats. We've already seen what the Coalition is willing to do." I took a deep breath, the weight of our mission settling over me like a mantle. "Let's gather intelligence on their remaining forces. We need to be prepared for whatever comes next." As we gathered around the holographic display, I could see the remnants of the Coalition's fleet scattered across the stars. Our victory had come at a cost, and the battle for the Echo had only just begun. "Commander," Graves said, her expression serious, "what do you think their next move will be?" I glanced at the display, my heart racing as I considered the possibilities. "They'll regroup and reassess their strategy. We need to ensure that we're ready for anything." As the crew worked together, I felt a sense of unity form between us. We had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, but I knew the shadows would not stay at bay for long. "Let's take a moment to regroup," I said, my voice firm. "We've achieved a significant victory, but we must remain vigilant. The Echo's light is our beacon, but it's also a target." The crew nodded, determination etched on their faces as we prepared for the next phase of our mission. Together, we would defend the Echo and uncover the mysteries that lay ahead. As the ship floated in the heart of the Echo, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were on the brink of something monumental. We had faced the darkness, but the shadows still lingered, waiting for their moment to strike. "We'll protect the Echo," I vowed, determination surging within me. "Together, we will not let the darkness prevail." With renewed resolve, we prepared for the challenges ahead, united by our purpose and the promise of a brighter future. The stars glimmered with an intensity that felt almost surreal as we gathered around the central console. The remnants of the Coalition fleet lay scattered across the void, but I knew we were far from safe. The Echo pulsed rhythmically, casting an ethereal glow throughout the ship, a silent reminder of the power we had only begun to understand. "Commander Hale," Graves called out, breaking my reverie. "We're receiving a transmission from the Echo. It's unlike anything I've seen." "On screen," I ordered, my heart racing. The tactical display flickered, and a holographic representation of the Echo formed, its crystalline structure shimmering as it projected a series of symbols and images. "What does it mean?" I asked, leaning closer. Kira tapped on her console, analyzing the data. "It appears to be a form of communication, some kind of message embedded in the light spectrum." As she worked, I felt the weight of history pressing down on us. This was not just about our survival, it was about the legacy we were forging for the galaxy. The Echo was a nexus of knowledge, and we had to unlock its secrets. Keep decoding it, I urged, determination surging through me. We need to understand what the Echo is trying to tell us. Hours slipped away as we delved deeper into the Echo's transmission, each fragment revealing more about its nature. The Echo was not merely a source of power, it was a repository of the galaxy's lost history, a remnant of a civilization that had thrived long before us. The images depict a conflict, Kira said, her voice barely above a whisper. An ancient war that nearly destroyed everything. Graves nodded, her eyes widening. It seems the Echo was a weapon, a way to channel energy against an overwhelming enemy. But it also holds the potential for creation. I felt a chill run down my spine. And now it's our responsibility. We have to ensure it's not used as a weapon again. Suddenly, the console blared with alerts, pulling my attention back to the present. Multiple ships approaching, Kira shouted, her fingers flying across the controls. Identify them, I ordered, adrenaline pumping. It's the remnants of the Coalition, and they're not alone, Graves replied, her face pale. They've allied with the remnants of the Zaeth Dominion. Then we prepare for one final stand, I declared, steeling my resolve. All hands, battle stations. As the ship shook with incoming fire, I felt the echoes of history urging me forward. We had fought against the darkness before, and we would do it again, united under the light of the Echo. The ensuing battle was chaotic. The Echo pulsated brightly, its energy coursing through our ship, enhancing our weapons and shields. I could feel the unity among my crew, our determination matching the intensity of the onslaught. Target their flagship, I commanded, our ships moving in tandem as we pressed forward. The Coalition forces, emboldened by desperation, fought fiercely, but we were no longer fighting alone. Our allies are responding, Graves shouted, a smile breaking through her focus. Let's give them something to cheer about, I grinned, fueling the fire within. The battle raged on, the light of the Echo illuminating the darkness. Each pulse reminded me of what we fought for: unity, hope, and a future free from the shadows of oppression. Now, I shouted, unleashing a barrage of fire that struck the Coalition flagship directly. It shuddered under our assault, its shields flickering before collapsing. The Coalition ships began to falter, the remnants of their fleet scattering. In that moment, I knew we had turned the tide. Push forward, we're not done yet, I urged, my voice firm as we pressed our advantage. The remaining ships broke formation, and one by one, they began to surrender. A wave of relief washed over me. We had fought fiercely and united against a common enemy. With the battle finally over, we regrouped on the bridge, a sense of camaraderie filling the air. The threat had been neutralized, but the Echo's secrets still loomed large. Commander, we need to decide what to do with the Echo, Graves said, her expression serious. It's a powerful resource. We can't let it fall into the wrong hands again. I nodded, the weight of responsibility settling over me like a mantle. We will safeguard it, ensure it becomes a beacon of knowledge rather than a weapon. This is a chance for us to rewrite history. As the crew celebrated our hard-won victory, I glanced at the stars beyond our ship, the remnants of the Echo shining brightly. We had faced darkness, and together we had emerged victorious. Commander, Kira interrupted, her voice bright with excitement. The Echo is sending out a message. It's a call to the galaxy. Let's broadcast it, I said, my heart pounding. It's time for the galaxy to know our story. As the Echo transmitted its message, I felt a surge of hope. We were no longer just the lost fleet. We were a new beginning, a symbol of resilience in the face of adversity. The stars twinkled above us, and as I stood on the bridge, I realized our journey was only just beginning. We had rewritten our fate, and now we would forge a future united, a future that echoed with the promise of hope. We move forward together, I vowed, feeling the weight of our history and the bright potential of tomorrow. Together, we would build a new legacy, one where light triumphed over darkness, and the echo would guide us through the unknown.